Okay, folks, we're back here with the grocery haul and let's get started. So this is Walmart. I get the majority of my things at Walmart, like you probably know from my past grocery hauls, for lots of reasons, but mainly because there's so many organic products that they carry now. And I really highly recommend a lot of things being organic. If you're trying to do the best for your health, you really don't want to have to be fighting the effects of pesticides in order to do that. So I start with fruits and vegetables. That's the biggest part of what I buy. And this is because we are doing a plant-based whole foods diet that just means as little processed or minimally processed foods as possible. So even if I buy a bread, I want it to be whole grain as much as possible. Or if I buy pasta, I want it to be made from chickpea flour or corn flour. It could be made from whole wheat, except that I do no gluten. And my husband and I usually both eat the same kind of pasta. But he would do whole wheat, and that would be fine also. So in the fruits and vegetables department, of course, I just start with the things that are non-refrigerated. There's a whole section there in the middle usually, and it has the onions, the potatoes, the things that don't have to be refrigerated. Here's our potatoes, our apples, tomatoes are usually on that particular bin, organic. And then I buy a few things that are non-organic. So these are bananas and corn because I can take off the outer peel on them. And so I'm comfortable buying those that way. You could do the same with cabbage. Because you take off the outer peel, you could get them in non-organic and they would still be a safe product to be buying. Things that you can't peel, like the snap peas, which rarely make it home with me, but they did this week. I usually eat them on the way home. And the green onions, you can't peel those. Cucumbers you could, but that's another thing that goes pretty fast in this house, are cucumbers. I buy them organic there. I buy the Brussels sprouts. They last forever in my refrigerator. It's really nice. Kale also lasts quite a while, and it goes in soups. You can put it in soups, salads, and smoothies. Kale goes a long way. It's a very dense, nutrient-dense food. Here's the carrots. They're really easy to eat as snacks. Oh, onions, broccoli, cauliflower. I buy those organic, but even cauliflower is one that they peel off the outer leaves, and if you had to get it non-organic, that would be okay. The peppers, lots of lemons and limes for flavoring. I buy those, that's organic also, lemons. I do my ginger root and my garlic there, and I put this out because I wanted to show you this. I usually just grate it, okay? So they say freeze your garlic. I usually have it in the fridge, but you can freeze the garlic. It lasts a little bit, or ginger. Freeze the ginger. It lasts a little bit longer, and then it's easy to grate whenever you need it, when it's half frozen. It actually is not hard to grate when it's in the refrigerator either. And same with garlic. I just grate a couple of cloves. It takes less than 60 seconds to do that. And so I do that all the time in fresh soups and salads and sauces. This is a staple. I always buy the spring mix. It has a wide variety of a number of different lettuces that, again, are very nutrient dense, can be used for salads. You can also put them under a soup or a chili so that it just kind of wilts it underneath and softens it, and it's very good, almost like, you know, you're using a pasta to put sauce over. So, and then at Walmart, I do get a few convenience items. These are a little bit more processed because they're in the cans, but some of these are hard for me to do on my own. For example, you can only get so many fresh tomatoes here. And so we have kind of not just a limited supply, but a limited quality here. So to get a crushed tomatoes and the tomato paste and tomato sauce makes some things much more convenient and easier to make. They are organic, but they're not BPA-free cans. I wish they would change that. And then whole corn and green beans, same thing. They're organic, they're convenient. Here's the pumpkin. You can do that from scratch also, or buy it this way as a convenience. And again, beans, same way. They're very convenient to buy that way. Garbanzos, lentils, black beans, tricolored beans, 3 different types in there. And garbanzos I use quite a bit because I'm making a lot of hummus since I'm doing a no added fats or oils diet, because this is a heart healthy diet that we're converting to because of my family's history of heart disease and my dad's recent balloon procedure to open up his heart vessels and put a stent in, and he's supposed to have another procedure next month. And because of my brother's procedure 2 years ago, he's only 2 years older than I am, and he had a 5-vessel bypass procedure. So, you know, we're doing heart healthy in my household, and this is very hard. My husband raises grass-fed beef, and he has agreed quite willingly, actually, to do this with me. And we'll just have to start from scratch and see how it goes. It's going to be quite a challenge for both of us, I'm sure. And then I went on to our local health food store. Natural Grocers I couldn't get into this week because they were doing construction in front of the entry to get there, and it was impossible to get into. So all of my health food items at the health food store I got at our local grocery or health food store. I start with a little bit of masa because I'm going to be doing corn tortillas. I love tortillas, and I want something that has no fat in it. So I'll make my own. And the recipe is right on it. Masa from Bob's Red Mill is organic. I called the company and talked to them about it, and the only reason they don't put that on the label is because they have to treat it with lime to make it into masa. But they do use organic corn for it. So I'll be making those. I don't use a tortilla press. I use my hands and just press it, and they turn out beautifully, and they're delicious. And chickpea flour I use for a lot of thickening, and I use it in smoothies to add protein to smoothies, and it really doesn't have a strong flavor. And then I could also use it for sauces like hummus again. That would be a really good option for my hummus. I always get cilantro and parsley. They are very dense, nutrient, green leafy foods. I use them in a lot of things, and I keep them fresh by putting them in jars and chopping off the ends so they can soak up the water just like flowers. And then I cover them with a plastic bag and put them in the refrigerator. They last a long time that way. I got my celery there. I can sometimes get it at Walmart, but lately it hasn't been the nicest qualities. 2 different kinds, and radishes. These are just, first of all, these are really heart healthy foods right here. And they are very nutrient dense and anti-cancer vegetables. The other thing about anti-cancer vegetables is that it really is all of the vegetables. They all have anti-cancer qualities to them. And we're always interested in that. But let's go back to the beets for a second. Beets are a heart-healthy food because they contain nitric oxide. And nitric oxide dilates your blood vessels. So it relaxes the wall of the blood vessels, and it helps open them up so that more blood and more oxygen can go through those blood vessels. And vegetables in general, a plant-based diet in general does that, but these are really well known and really researched for being able to do that. One other thing I want to say about them is that we don't think of beets as being something that you can eat raw, but I peel them and I put them through my food processor on the grate so that they can be grated, just like carrots. And sometimes I add them to carrots and I make a carrot and beet salad. They are delicious raw. Just like carrots are a different taste when they're cooked and raw, so are beets. Beets are much sweeter and much more tolerable as a raw vegetable for many people. So consider having them that way. They're delicious. Let's go on. In my local health food store, I buy a lot of spices in bulks, and I'm going to go through these here for a second. When you're thinking about doing a change of your diet, especially if you're doing a plant-based whole foods diet, you really need to be thinking about flavor. And so really being conscious of what you're putting into your foods so that you can taste them more intensely. That will require things like lemons, limes, the balsamic, and the red wine vinegar. I'm going to show you these things over here. So coconut aminos, organic red wine vinegar, and nutritional yeast. These are going to be used for flavorings. Nutritional yeast being very good as a substitute for cheese because cheese is made with yeast, and nutritional yeast has much of that flavor in it, besides the fact that it's loaded with B vitamins. Any kind of vinegars that don't have sugar in them, consider using for flavorings in your sauces and on fruits and vegetables, and you'll really bring out a lot of flavor. If you have foods that are like kale, that have just a little bit more of a bitterness to them, or broccoli, and you're just not, maybe you're a super taster and you have trouble with vegetables because of the tendency for them to have a more bitter flavor for you, then lemon and lime can be really helpful for those. So back over here, let's go back to flavor. So I have purchased some paprika, mustard seed, turmeric. Look at the beautiful colors in these things. This is just marjoram, lemongrass, black pepper, onion powder, garlic powder. This one was spearmint. It can be used for a tea or in foods to flavor salads and things. Mint, fenugreek, nutmeg, basil. So what I do with these two is I often will make a mixture of them that's already ready to be used later. And here's a really good example. This would go in my pumpkin pie filling that I have over there. And I would just make this pumpkin pie spice. Just has cinnamon, nutmeg, ginger, cloves, and allspice. And I have all of those here, and I'll just mix them up in that proportion and store them this way so that I don't have to make it up later. I do the same thing with the Italian seasonings. This is a combination of thyme, rosemary, parsley, basil, and oregano. And it's 1 tablespoon of each, except for the oregano, which is 2 tablespoons. And that makes you a nice mixture. I store it in these containers when I run out of these that I bought from the store. So none of these are probably the original for these containers. This is organic oregano that I actually cut and dried and put in a blender from oregano plants. And once it's in a blender and it's blended to a powder or crushed to a powder like that, then I use my funnel and I put it in a container and store it in my spice drawer. So, and then I'll do the same thing with a taco spice seasoning and maybe even a Greek seasoning so that it's all ready and I don't have to mix those things up later. It's a time saver for me. And then at my local health food store, I buy a lot of things in bulk, which you've probably heard from my previous videos. But so this week I did split green peas, split yellow peas. I did some lentils. These are the dark lentils. It doesn't really look green, but they are green lentils. And these are the crimson lentils. These cook very quickly if you're in a hurry and you want them to cook. You don't want to overcook them because they cook very quickly and they soften really fast, but they're delicious. And lentils, by the way, are very high in protein, but so are all these, the peas and the beans. These are black-eyed peas. Peas are very high in protein, really good for substituting when you're going meatless, okay? No animal products is what we're doing for heart healthy and cancer prevention also, by the way. And this is just rye. It's a grain that you use. It looks just like rice, actually, and you cook it just like rice for about 45 minutes in Equal amounts, no. You have to use a little extra water when you cook with rye or brown rice. Things that cook a little longer take a little extra water so than you're normally used to for white rice. Here's barley, same thing. This is whole grain barley, not pearl barley. It cooks, it takes much longer to cook. And you know, I allow at least 45 minutes for cooking grains. I started at the beginning of the cooking process while I'm making whatever sauce or whatever other thing I'm gonna put with it, and just boil it. It's really easy, and I'm not a great cook, so boiling is super easy for me. This is steel cut oats. We'll use a lot of those. These are flours. So I bought flours. I'm having trouble finding certain breads, and so what I did here is I bought these so I can make gluten-free whole grain bread without fat or oil. And I bought a little bit of sorghum, I bought some oat flour, and I bought some buckwheat flour. And I'll make a bread out of that and just experiment with it a little bit. For my husband though, I got Ezekiel bread. Ezekiel is an excellent brand of bread. It's whole grains, it's flourless. It has wheat, barley, beans, lentils, millet, and spelt. So it is a wheat bread, so I probably won't use it, but he loves it. And, you know, it's great toasted. It is a much more dense bread, though, than people are used to. It is not a light, fluffy bread, and neither will be the one that I make that's gluten-free. It's not going to be a light, fluffy bread. It's going to be more of a dense, whole grain bread that you can have with soups and stews and things like that, or to make sandwiches. I got this, by the way, in the freezer department in Walmart. It was at my health food store also, but Ezekiel products, because they have no preservatives, are kept in the freezer department. And when you bring them home, keep them in the freezer. They'll stay fresh longer, and you can just use a little bit at a time as you need it. These were two other things from Walmart I forgot to mention, and they are just pastas. This is a spaghetti style, and this is an elbow style macaroni, and they're made from chickpeas. And, you know, just really good for sauces, although these are more processed than I am normally used to eating. Here we are at the Costco section. And at Costco, I got sweet potatoes, and we'll use a lot of potatoes because we're not using meat. And my husband is somebody who loves potatoes, so that's going to work really well. He loves sweet potatoes and regular potatoes, so we have some of both. But at Costco, they have this great big bag of sweet potatoes that is organic. It's really nice. Sun-dried figs, sun-dried dates. They contain only dates, only figs, no oils. Here is some mushrooms I got there, shiitake mushrooms. They have several different types there. This is the one I got this week. I have found some ramen. My husband loves ramen noodles. And this is one made with millet and brown rice that I can have also. And so this is organic. And it's just nice that they're starting to make things like that. This oatmeal, normally I wouldn't buy that much oatmeal like that, but I will probably use it because I'm going to be using it in baking. And if I need it for flour, I can actually put it in my blender and blend it up into a fine powder and use it for flour also. And chia is just more something I use for thickening, and I also use it because I'm not using eggs. I use this for thickening. I use flax, ground flax for thickening also, and psyllium is another thickener. But this is a great fiber. This is balsamic vinegar. And it will come in handy for many different types of seasoning that we'll be needing it for, sauces and, like I said, on fruits and vegetables. I wish I had waited because they did actually have an organic version at Walmart that was a very nice price, and I just had already gotten this. So, but normally I didn't realize that balsamic vinegar came in organic. That's why I went ahead and got it before I realized that it does actually come in an organic version. And this one is really interesting. I bought two of them a while back. These are new. I just got them this week. But I didn't use them because it said medium, and when I went to use them, it was pretty hot. So it's a pretty hot salsa. as salsas go. It has a lot of pepper in it. Everything in it, though, is absolutely wonderful. They're all organic ingredients. There is no fat in it, and there are no preservatives. And I used it this past week and put it with several cans of beans and corn, and it made an absolutely wonderful chili. Very simple, very easy, very fast. And so that's going to be one of my go-to meals because it was so easy and delicious. And even though it is processed, it has some very nice ingredients in it. So you might want to consider that. So there we have it. That was the grocery haul this week. Like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video.